Hello, Tampa Bay fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show, your online radio home for Tampa Bay sports talk and Rays postgame shows. Stay tuned throughout baseball season for live coverage after most Rays games with comprehensive coverage of all 162 games from April through October. Got something to say? We'd love to hear it. Give us a call, internationally toll-free, 877-566-1020, or send us a tweet at WHBC Official. Don't go anywhere. Tonight's program will be starting in just a couple of minutes.
HBC. It was another tough day at the office. It is a good evening to you and how you be. William Haynes here, you there. Here at 10:10 here on this Tuesday night on this Rays post-game edition of the William Haynes Show. We are live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. Tonight on deck we have a loss to discuss by the score of 8-3 at the hands of the Texas Rangers. They even up this series one game apiece. It was Kyle Gibson for Texas going 7 innings, giving up just 1 earned run. And then for the Rays, it was Ryan Yarbrough with his second loss of the season, working 6 innings, 6 earned runs on 10 hits. So back-to-back really rough starts for Ryan Yarbrough. It seems with Ryan Yarbrough, either he's really on or he tends to get into some trouble. Tonight, it was a little bit of both, as he had multiple stretches where he had retired 7 in a row. But of course, the 1 run allowed in the first inning, 4 in the fourth, and then 1 in the sixth to cap off his night. And obviously, he ends up getting the loss. It's just tough with Yarbrough. It just seems like some hitters, they're either just going to wave and miss and make it Yarbrough look really good, or those pitches that, are sweeping over the plate, they're going to be able to hit them the other way for singles or what have you. And there was a couple times tonight where the Rangers had compiled, 3-4 straight hits. Even if they're just singles, having men on the bases consistently is more times than not going to end up with runs. And for the Rays, speaking of runs, they're not able to put up too much, not to bury the lead here, but with 5 wins on the season for the Rays, 3 of those 5 wins have come when they have shut out their opponent, and 2 of those 3 wins have come when the Rays only score 1 run, so 1-0 wins. Obviously, the 1-0 win on opening day with the Austin Meadows solo home run, and the win last night with the Willy Adames solo shot. So I think going into the season, there was some optimism for what the offense could be, what they could kind of transform into, but as is the case just really with this team and how this organization has been set up to operate, they're built to win with pitching and defense, and at times the pitching and defense has had flashes. The pitching is a little bit concerning, but I think really the most glaring issue of the team right now as this offense and their ability to score runs consistently and often throughout a game. It seemed like early in the season they had struggles scoring early in games, and maybe they would, start having some offense when it was too late to come back maybe at the end of the game. And now lately during this homestand, they've been able to consistently score runs early in the game, and then by the third or fourth inning, they're done for the night, and they're not able to put up any runs after that. And that was just about the case tonight. They put up 2 runs in the first inning to respond to the 1 run Texas put up, and so they had a 2-1 lead at that point. And then they did not get on the board again until their 1 run in the 8th inning. That was pretty much in garbage time anyway. So a bad look. I mean, Kevin Cash obviously was shaking up the lineup tonight. I think I know we have a caller that calls in sometimes, and he jokes that maybe Kevin Cash listens to my show, and maybe he does, because last night I finally made my stand for, enough is enough. Let's get Yoshi out of that leadoff spot and maybe get someone else over there at first base. And so Kevin Cash does do that. He puts Yoshi Tsutsugo at DH and in the 6 hole, where he goes 0 for 3 tonight, and his batting average is now down to 147 as his struggles continue at the plate. So Cash is trying to shake things up. It seems like they're consistently getting good performances from the top of the order. Meadows, Arozarena, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz, those guys have continued to hit, but anyone else is really struggling at the plate, whether you look at Yoshi. I know Adames with the home run, but he goes 0 for 4 tonight. Phillips goes 0 for 4, but I know he's had a pretty good homestand. And then Mike Zunino going 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So this is just something, I guess, that they're going to have to continue to tinker with during the season. And I understand that, teams aren't going to be good for an entire season. If you win 100 games, that's just about 60% of the games on your schedule that you're winning. So even the best teams aren't too far above 500, and so you're not going to win every night, of course. And the Rays 1 game below 500 at 5-6 right now, and there's going to be a time where the team is performing poorly. I would rather it be now than in August or September, or potentially even October, when the games matter maybe just a little bit more. So the hope is that this offense is going to continue to get going. And again, I know there's guys that are performing good as of late, so hopefully that can remain consistent, and the guys that are performing inconsistently can maybe up their game a little bit. They went 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, with Yandy Diaz going 2 for 2, and then the rest of the guys going 0 for 1, being Margot, Adames, Phillips, Lau, and Tsutsugo. So they did have a few opportunities, not as much as they have in the last couple days, but when the opportunities do arise, you need to capitalize, and the Rays were really not able to do that, and they left a total of 6 men on base. They only struck out 6 times, which is not bad, and they only walked 2 times. So this is a lineup that has been getting walked a lot. I just think, and the Rangers, the starter Kyle Gibson didn't do a particularly great job of throwing strikes either. 86 pitches, 51 for strikes, and he only walked 2 men. So they could have had their easy base to first a couple of times, and we've seen that before. I know Manuel Margot may be the most glaring. I think on a 1-0 count, it was a fastball well outside, and he swung at it. So I understand, guys being in slumps, it makes it just that much harder to get on base and to maybe to take pitches that you should be taking, and that tends to kind of snowball in that effect. So we'll continue to unpack this game and get into all that. So yes, tonight's show, we are discussing the 8-3 loss, and then at the very end of the program, we'll preview tomorrow's game. It looks like it's going to be Josh Fleming in some capacity against Kohei Arihara of the Rangers. So we'll get into all of that and talk about the roster moves that are continuing to be made. If we have anyone listening and you'd like to call into the program during the break, certainly you can do so. The number to call, 877-566-1020. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
You're listening to the Rays postgame on the William Haynes Show. We're live most nights within 15 minutes of the final out to break down everything that happened in that day's game and take listener phone calls to get your thoughts. As always, you call the show at 877-566-1020 or tweet the show at WHBC Official. like you to remember that archives of previous shows can be found on this show's page on Speaker.com and also on the WHBC YouTube channel. We look forward to having some of you on the show. Thanks for calling in.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 10:19, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Again, number to call 877-566-1020. You want to talk Rays, all those things, that's good, that's perfect. But if not, we are discussing tonight's 8-3 loss at the hands of the Texas Rangers. Texas improving to 4-7. They dropped the Rays to 5-6 on the year. So we'll start with the lineup, offensively, defensively, all those things. So the lineup card that Kevin Cash submitted today, we'll start defensively in the outfield from left to right. It was Meadows in left, Brett Phillips in center, Randy Arozarena in right, and then in the infield from third to first, it was Wendell at third, Adames at shortstop, Lau at second base. It was Yandy Diaz at first, Mike Zunino did the catching, and Yoshi Tsutsugo was the designated hitter. And then the way the lineup was ordered, Austin Meadows led off, followed by Arozarena and Wendell at the 3 spot. Brandon Lau hit cleanup, followed by Yandy Diaz, Yoshi Tsutsugo, and then a bottom 3 of Adames, Phillips, and Zunino. So, again, I kind of do like this lineup. I like having Wendell at 3. I know on last night's show when we were kind of pondering how the lineup card would look if Kevin Cash was to decide to take Yoshi out of that leadoff spot. And basically it was going to be you were going to move Meadows from 2 up to 1, Arozarena from 3 up to 2, but then who hits 3? And because obviously you still want Lau probably to hit cleanup, so are you going to put Margot up there? Are you going to put, take Yandy Diaz up there? Take your pick. So they ended up going with Joey Wendell, which I think works really nicely. He's leading the team in runs batted in right now with, I believe, 8. So, the thought is more times than not, he's going to be coming to the plate with either Meadows or Arozarena on base, as they are right now 2 of the better on-base percentages on the team, and that actually did bear out tonight with a RBI double for Joey Wendell in the first inning, and that was the only extra base hit that the Rays had on the night. And of course, Lau continuing to hit cleanup. I think Yandy Diaz is interesting where they're going to play him. He has not really hit for a lot of power, kind of a little bit better than last year, but a lot of singles, a lot of walks. So where they decide to put that, obviously he's not a cleanup guy, so I know he's hit leadoff before. Do you maybe try him at that 3 spot? He was at the 5 hole tonight, and I thought that worked out okay. He goes 2 for 3 with a walk, and he was, I would say, along with Wendell, one of the 2 most productive offensive pieces. Yoshi down at the bottom of the order, I think, if he's going to be in the lineup at all, and of course we know he's due $7 million, and he's the second highest paid player on the team, so that basically kind of handicaps the Rays into being, I guess, extra patient with him because of the investment that they made to him, and he goes 0 for 3 tonight. And then I think the bottom 3, you can shake it up if you want, but I think it's fine the way it is. Adames is always going to hit around that 7, 8, 9 spot. That's just where he's going to be. Phillips, I think, is fine at the 8 spot. He did some damage there last night, and just wasn't his night at the plate tonight, although he did do a tremendous job defensively again, and he's looking pretty dynamic out there in center. And then Zunino in the 9 spot, most nights he's going to be that automatic out. I don't typically like to have that in the 9 spot, but he's got to play somewhere. He did play good behind the plate, but goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts beside the plate. So, I guess you can't really blame him specifically because there was a lot of guys that were not having success. You look at the guys that went 0 for tonight, basically meaning no hits. It was Meadows, 0 for 3, Yoshi 0 for 3, and then Adames, Phillips, and Zunino were all 0 for 4. So the guys that were getting hits were getting, multiple hits more times than not, with Rosarena, Lau, and Diaz all getting 2 hits apiece. So, you like to see the offense a little bit more spread out, not just among the lineup and the order, but also throughout the innings. And so that's been a continuing issue for the team. So for Texas, it was 8 runs on 13 hits, 1 error for them. And then for the Rays, it was 3 runs on 7 hits. So they basically get, half as much hits, or the Rangers doubled them in hits, and no errors for them defensively. So going one by one down the order, Meadows going 0 for 3, no strikeouts, a walk. He flew out to left to start the game, and taking a look at his leadoff at bat. Took a fastball down the middle at 91, took a sinker outside, and then for ball, and then on a sinker, kind of middle down, he flied out into foul territory in left field. So a 3-pitch at bat. I don't love that, but Meadows, I know we spent some time kind of remarking at his ability to work some lengthy at bats last night. So I think he, at least right now, is going to be that main guy at the leadoff spot, and you just continue to give him some time. So it's hard to kind of take away massive takeaways each night. I mean, I know guys are going to have off nights, and you have to be patient with them, and I think for a lot of guys that was the case here today. Then he walked to lead off the 3rd inning, so you like the leadoff walk, grounded out with nobody on base, and then flew out to start the 8th inning. So did not come up in really any big spots or anything like that, and I think there was no issues with him in left. Rosarena going 2 for 3. Both of his hits, he ended up coming across to score, so that was good. Or actually, no. The first run that he came across for was a hit by pitch in the 1st inning, and he came in on. He was driven in by the Joey Wendell double that came up just after him, so he scores a run there. Pops it up in the 3rd inning with Meadows on first, and it was a pitch that he looked like he could have driven, but was a little bit early on it and just popped it straight up. Got a single with nobody on in the 5th and 2 outs, and then in the 8th inning, with the bases clear and 1 out, hits another single, and it was a pretty nicely hit line drive through, I believe, the right side of the infield. So Rosarena, 2 homers on the season, and I think a handful of doubles to his name as well. But really impressed with him as far as just, even hitting singles and getting hard hit baseballs through the infield and things of that nature. He's batting .317 on the season with an OBP of .378, so he is living up to the hype, at least right now, and I'm sure would be the front runner for the American League Rookie of the Year. Batting in the 3 spot, Joey Wendell 1 for 3, of course, with that RBI double and the only extra base hit of the night for the Rays. And then outside of that, a ground out with a man on first, ground out with a man on first, and then a pop-up with a man on first. So he did come up with men on base in all of his at-bats, but, came through in the 1st inning, and then he obviously is stellar defensively, and he was there at 3rd base tonight. And then I actually messed that up. The pop-up in the 8th inning, that was actually a pinch hit for Brasso. So for when it was the double and then the 2 ground outs to shortstop, and then Brasso pinch hit and then came into play third base. And Brasso not being able to get a whole ton of playing time. I don't know if that's going to change. You can play him all over the place, not just the lineup, but defensively you could play him really at 1st, 2nd, or 3rd base. So if this offense continues to struggle, I wonder if Cash might just make a move to shake things up, as he's not really gotten many at-bats at all to start the year. Brandon Lau in the cleanup spot. Tonight he goes 2 for 4 with a strikeout. Struck out with Wendell at 2nd, hit a leadoff single in the 4th, flew out to start the 6th, and then hit a single with a Rosarena at 1st in the 8th inning. So he continues to have a nice start to the season. I guess so. He's batting under the Mendoza line. He's at 194 right now with an on-base percentage of .326. So I know he's been getting on base a lot. He's been getting walked. a ton, so be it. But he goes 2 for 4 tonight. I'm good with that. Still looking for his first home run of the year, and I think only a couple doubles to his name. In the 5 spot, it was Yandy Diaz. Diaz tonight goes 2 for 3 with a run batted in and a walk. So I think he's been impressive so far. Again, I mentioned not as much with the extra base hits, but the singles and the walks, the batting eye, all those things. And I think he had a nice split there at first base defensively. It looked like he might have tweaked a hamstring or something, but I think it's okay. He doesn't make it look as easy as G-Man Choi does. But no issues there, and it seems like the defense has been cleaned up. At least during this homestand, it seems like they always play better there in the Trop, so hopefully they can take that with them back out on the road. But Yandy Diaz hit a single with Wendell on second base. He did not get a run batted in on that one because it counted as a hit, but the way it got through the infield, it was an error charged to the second baseman, Nick Solak, so no RBI for him there. But he did come up with one later. In the 4th inning, he did walk with a man on first, so that was good to see him take his base there. Flew out on a 1-2-3 in the 6th, and then in the 8th inning, he hit an RBI single with men on first and second. So a really productive night for Yandy Diaz as well. Yoshi Tsutsugo, he goes 0 for 3 tonight in limited action. Again, I think he only got 3 at-bats last night as well. He flew out to left with a man at first in the 1st inning. He popped up to the second baseman with men at first and second in the 4th, so that was a big spot that he came up in for sure. And let's go ahead and take a look at that at-bat in the 4th inning, actually, just to see what it looked like. So he fouled off a fastball middle, and it seemed like he really wanted to pounce on that, and the struggle with the fastball continues for him. He swings through a curveball in the dirt, strike 2, so already it's no balls, 2 strikes. And then on a slider kind of down and into him, he pops it up straight up and then to second base with men at first and second and nobody out. So unfortunate for him there. It was funny on the broadcast, the radio side. Andy Freed was mentioning that the way he worded it was the baseball gods always find a way to find you. Basically referencing that Yoshi has struggled in big spots in the leadoff spot, and Cash moves him down to the 6 hole, and then the big moment still manages to find him, and he's not able to convert once again. So I'm not quite sure where you go from here, but that's really the same thing we've been saying for really all 11 games of the season so far, and 11 games is still really early, but it doesn't look like things have really changed much. Manuel Margot pinch hit for him in the 8th inning, and Margot, I thought he was going to be able to maybe come through with men on first and second, but he flew out to right. It was a kind of a strange play because it was the deepest part in foul territory down the right field line, so I guess you just kind of catch a tough break there because I know he's been hitting pretty well to start the season, and the outfield is really strange right now, but maybe find a way to get him some more playing time. I mean, I'd rather have him at DH than Yoshi, or really what you would rather do is you'd rather have Margot in left and then have Meadows as the DH. So, and that's all going to depend on matchups and righty-lefty with the opposing starter and all that, but I would much rather see Margot in the lineup each time that Yoshi's in there. But in the 7 hole, Willy Adames 0 for 4 with a strikeout after the game-winning hit last night. He grounds out to start the 2nd, pops it up with men on first and second in the 4th inning. That came up right after Tsutsugo, so let's take a look at that. He chased a slider down and away, strike 1, then took that same pitch basically for ball 1, took it again for ball 2. So I know Willy Adames has been susceptible at kind of chasing the same pitch multiple times in one at bat, but he's able to lay off of it there, gets himself into a 2-1 count, and a slider that just ends up being middle at 81. He pops it straight up, and I know multiple guys in the lineup had trouble with that. And an issue that we've seen consistently this season is that a lot of these hitters have just had trouble squaring up the baseball. So I don't know exactly what it's going to take to get that to change, but not looking too good as of right now. Brett Phillips in the 8th spot, he goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts as well. Grounded out in the 2nd. Struck out with men on first and second in the 4th, so right in line. We'll go ahead and take a peek at that at-bat. So he takes a changeup down and away for strike 1, just caught the corner there, tough break. Then takes a fastball low and in, ball 1, so then 1 ball, 1 strike. and then from there swings through a cutter up and in, and swings through a slider down and in. So he chased the pitch from Gibson there with a couple of men on, and not that it's really any different of an at-bat whether the bases are empty or there's men on base, but you like to think that maybe the focus is a little bit more there, and that things of that nature. And I guess there's no doubting that Phillips is a clutch player with that hit in Game 4 of the World Series, but struggled at the plate here tonight. Grounded out in the 7th with nobody on, and then struck out looking in the 9th in a 1-2-3 where Colby Allard actually struck out the side in the 9th. So they went down quickly and quietly. And then in the 9th spot, it was Mike Zunino going 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts as well. Flew out to 7th in a 1-2-3. Struck out to start the 5th. Grounded out in the 7th, and then struck out the final out in the 9th inning. Again, not much really to say about him there. He's not a great average hitter. I know he hits home runs occasionally, and that's kind of where he's at. He'll be a 200, maybe 220 hitter with 20 home runs or so if he can play a full 162 game season. And really the strength to his game is knowing the pitching staff and being a pretty good backstop, and I think did a relatively good job of that tonight. And just once again reiterating, 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position, DS 2 for 2, and then all 0 for 1 in that regard: Margot, Adames, Phillips, Lau, and Setsugo, and they leave a total of 6 men on base. Just to put that into perspective, the Rangers went 6 for 13 with runners in scoring position, so they were about batting 500 in that regard, and the volume of opportunities definitely was more so there for Texas. But now moving over to the pitching side for the Rays, to get the start, it was Ryan Yarbrough. In really an interesting time in Yarbrough's life. He said yesterday was one of the better days of his life, as he was awarded the American League Championship ring and during the ceremony that all the players got yesterday. And then also, I guess they announced that he and his wife were having a baby girl that's on the way. So a lot of good things going on for Yarbrough on that side of his life. But here on the mound tonight, the struggles were there. The second straight start where he was just not able to, I don't even know exactly what phrase you would use, because it's not really like he fools hitters. It's just that no one can really square up his stuff. And the last 2 times out, the opposing team has been able to square him up. It was 10 hits tonight. You take a look at his start last time out against Boston, it was 5 innings, 6 runs on 9 hits. Tonight it was 6 innings, 6 runs on 10 hits. So just about the same thing. He did get some innings, so I guess that's good. But the hits were coming often, and they were coming early. The leadoff single to start the game for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and then another couple singles there. So the Rangers had already put up a run in the first inning, and the Rays were able to get out of it, I guess, with some nifty defensive plays. But already 3 hits allowed in the first inning, and then went on a stretch where he retired. It was, it looks like, 7 straight, and then gives up that big 4th inning, the 4 runs on 5 hits. To start the inning, gives up 3 straight singles, 1 to Trevino, Lowe, and Garcia, then a base to basically load the bases, and then a bases clearing double from Nick Solak. So already the first 4 men had been allowed to reach base, and then gives up what should have been another hit to Eli White, but it was a liner right to the second baseman Lau, and then gives up another RBI double to Charlie Culberson, and then gets a couple of ground outs to get out of it. So kind of like that inning, I think it was the 5th inning in Boston, where he had given up I think 6 runs, and only 3 of them were earned because of the 3 that came after the error by Adames. But it was kind of the same thing where guy, man after man after man was getting good contact off of him and getting on base because of it. So I don't really know. I don't think there's really cause for concern going into tonight. Previewing the game on last night's show, I was expecting 6 or 7 innings, maybe 1 or 2 run ball. Instead, it was 6 innings of 6 runs. And the reason I was saying that was because we saw last night the Rangers lineup is not very good, but they performed well tonight. They had been shut out, had the Rangers 3 out of their last 4 games coming into tonight. So I was not expecting this, but in baseball, it seems to be that when you least expect it is when it will happen, so that was the case. And Yarbrough will look to get back on track. It looks right now His next time up will be the Sunday game in the Bronx against the Yankees, against perhaps Jameson Taillon. So another power right-handed lineup like he faced with Boston. So I'm not sure that the next start is going to be his best chance to get on track, and then maybe the next start after that would be at home against Toronto. So, and I think another team that he's historically struggled against, at least since all the kids had begun to get called up. So we're going to see. It could be some tough sledding for Yarbrough. This was his 20th straight start without a win. Obviously, a lot of no decisions mixed in there as well. But that's tough. It's just tough breaks all around. A lot of times he's not getting run support or whatever. But I like Yarbrough. He's been available. That's what they say. The best ability is availability, and does not tend to get injured a lot. Always makes his starts. Always tends to work pretty deep into ball games. But there are going to be nights like this. He's going to throw out the same pitches every night. It's not like there's going to be a night where he's off and his stuff isn't there. I mean, he was really spinning his stuff, but sometimes there's going to be nights where the opposing team is just going to be able to get some knocks out of it. And it seems like it's either night and day with Yarbrough. Either he's really lights out, and no one's being able to touch his pitches, or he's getting like absolutely blown up. And tonight it was somewhere in the middle. As I mentioned, he had 2 stretches during his start where he had retired 7 batters in a row at multiple junctures. But then, of course, that 4-run inning in the 4th, and then a couple one-run innings in the 1st and in the 6th. I gave up 2 doubles during his start, so only 2 extra base hits, so that's not terrible. But we'll see from here. That's really all I can say. The 1 walk was good. That doing himself a favor, not putting a lot of men on free of charge. That's the one thing that really Yarbrough can't afford to do, because his game is playing off of contact and getting outs out of that. He threw only 93 pitches, so he could have maybe even gone 7 tonight if things had gone a little bit differently. But they decided to let Trevor Richards carry the load. But of his 93 pitches, 64 were for strikes, and of the 29 batters he faced, he established the first pitch strike to only 14 of them, so, just under 50%. That might be something that Yarbrough looks at and determines as an issue. And like I said, that metric either matters or it just really doesn't, because a lot of times you'll see whether it's a 1-0 count, a 2-1 count, whatever, even if it's favorable to the hitter, they get a pitch that they think they can hit, and they just get the wrong part of the bat on it or whatever, and it's just weak contact of the ground ball or the fly ball. But when you're getting a lot of hits, you would like to get ahead in the count, and he did get 6 strikeouts tonight, by the way. So we'll see. Again, next outing will likely be against the Yankees, so he's going to have to perform pretty well if he doesn't want to start his year off 0-3. And then coming out of the pen, it was just one man, Trevor Richards, making his Rays debut. Over his 3 innings of work in mop-up duty, it was 2 runs allowed on 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, threw 49 pitches, 32 for strikes, and was 6 for 12 in establishing the first pitch strike. He was really going changeup heavy. Of course, anyone who's followed the Rays the last couple of years, that's the pitch that he really likes, that he leans on. Taking a look at the stuff that he was throwing out there. See, in the 7th inning, the fastball at the low 90s, and then the changeup at the low 80s. And it looks like, for the most part, a curveball mixed in there, and that's about it for his stuff. And a guy that can start sometimes has come behind an opener as a bulk man a lot of times as well. And that was kind of the case here tonight. I think it worked out well where they were able to save the bullpen. Of course, the Rays would have rather been in a position to win this game, but it was going to be kind of difficult. Diego Castillo was certainly not available after pitching back-to-back days of, more than 20, 25 pitches. Cody Reed was on a back-to-back, and then you were talking about guys like Thompson and Kittredge and whatnot. So I guess, when the Rays lose, it's going to be a flip-flop between, maybe a bullpen meltdown and offensive struggles. And tonight it was kind of the offensive struggles, I think, as well as just kind of the Yarbrough dud of a start. But they are able to save the bullpen tonight, which I think is a good thing. They are in the midst of a 30 games in 31 stretch, so I know a loss is a loss, but when you're trying to keep everyone healthy and you've already have 4 or so relievers already go down, I guess you kind of take your blessings in that regard when you can kind of give them a night off. And I thought Trevor Richards was fine. The 2 runs, it was the 2-run shot to Charlie Culberson. It was just a change-up middle that didn't break. So, whatever. I thought, the 3 innings, it was going to be what it was going to be. The offense wasn't going to come back anyway. So you live with it. I had assumed that Trevor Richards was going to be the guy that got sent down. It looks like that's not going to be the case. I don't know if that's because he's out of options or what. I'm sure he's maybe got some left because with Chris Archer being on the injured list, they're going to have to kind of flip-flop some arrangements with the starting pitching as we, I guess, begin to flip the page over to tomorrow's game and talk about the roster right now. So tomorrow was going to be Rich Hill slot in the order, and so the Rays decided to give him an extra day of rest, that extra 5th day of rest after pitching 6 innings against the Yankees on Friday, and he's 41 years old, so I think it does kind of work out in that regard. So you move basically Rich Hill into Chris Archer's spot, and with Chris Archer on the injured list, then you're going to have to find someone to take that spot in tomorrow's game against Kohei Arihara. And so I guess coming out today that the Rays had added Josh Fleming to their taxi squad, and that the expectation was after tonight's game, they were of course going to activate him from said taxi squad, and so they would have to send someone down in order to accommodate the 26-man roster. So we were wondering who that was going to be. I did kind of forget about him, which I guess kind of makes me feel bad, but I'm sure he'll get another chance. Kevin Padlow, who was activated from the taxi squad himself, was sent down. So I don't think that alters with his minor league options or service time either coming off from the taxi squad. So Padlow goes down. Fleming comes up. I would imagine Fleming, and it looks like Fleming will start outright tomorrow, by the way, and I think Fleming will probably stay on the 26-man at least until Chris Archer is ready to come back, and maybe if Fleming is pitching really well, then the Rays go a little bit more patient with Archer, and then maybe vice versa if things aren't going so well. And I thought maybe Trevor Richards would just be the guy to pitch the bulk innings behind the opener tomorrow, but of course, with the Rays having him go 49 pitches in 3 innings tonight, that was obviously not their plan. I know a lot of people were kind of clamoring for Fleming to start the year on the 26-man, and that maybe he deserved a spot in the rotation, going 5-0 in somewhat limited action a season ago. Was certainly impressive, and I guess what you would call his rookie season, but he is still considered a rookie by MLB metrics. But there was also some discussion as to whether he would start outright or come in behind an opener, and I think with the way the bullpen is right now, and I think maybe Fleming was rather impressive in spring training, and maybe he's been impressive at the alternate training site as well, so they make the decision to start him outright. We'll take a look at that now. Tomorrow's game against the Rangers at 7:10, it's going to be the righty Kohei Arihara against what we believe will be the left-hander Josh Fleming. So on the Ranger side first, Kohei Arihara coming in from overseas. This is his 2021 will be his first season in Major League Baseball, coming over from Japan. He's got 2 starts on the year. He's 0-1 with an ERA of 5. And his first start against the Royals, he pitched 5 innings of 3 runs on 6 hits. And then the second time out against the Padres, a loss, 4 innings, 2 runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So 1 strikeout each in both of his starts, so it looks like that's not going to be a huge thing for him. Also threw 73 pitches in both of his starts, so maybe that looks like that's going to be the expectation. I don't know if this is going to be a tandem start thing like it was for Game 1 for Texas, but I wouldn't expect more than 4 or 5 innings from him unless the Rays offense is really going to get in a slump here or something like that, which this would be a good game to kind of get off the schneid offensively, which not really. I mean, they played really well in the weekend series against the Yankees, but the first 2 games out against Texas has been rough. Of course, 1 run in Game 1 and 2 runs here tonight, so they will certainly get their hacks, and they're going up against a right-hander again. So maybe, similar lineup with stacking the lefties. So I imagine Yoshi will be in the lineup over someone of the likes of Margot. But we'll talk about that a little later. And then getting his first start, making his 2021 season debut, it will be Josh Fleming, the 24-year-old left-hander. Last season was 5-0 with a 2.78 ERA in the regular season. He pitched a couple of games in the postseason, but obviously that's not included in his ERA or record or anything. It looks, looking back to a season last year, pretty much every start of about 4 or 5 innings, and anywhere from, he had a couple duds where he gave up 4 or 3 runs, but a lot of times no or 1 run. So I think if he comes out and he gives you 5 innings of maybe no runs against the Texas lineup, that isn't fantastic, but maybe is starting to come into their own a little bit. I don't know exactly. That would be a good chance for Fleming to potentially solidify himself, and I know he's excited about that. I know everyone, the race fans and everyone is excited about that, so that'll be good to see. And we're beginning to see that starting pitching depth that the Rays have at that minor league level, at that alternate training site, because minor league baseball has not officially started yet. I'm talking about, of course, Brent Honeywell, who they dipped into a couple days ago. Now with Josh Fleming, that have also got Luis Patino, Joe Ryan, Shane McClanahan, and probably even a couple of others that if things really go awry, they could potentially turn to. I know the reliever depth is not certainly there right now, but the starting pitching depth is absolutely there. And of course, with the injuries already suffered, they're having to go to that. And it'd be interesting to see. I think Chris Archer's ceiling for this year, I think, is a little bit higher than, say, a guy like Fleming. So I don't know. It's not going to be like a 1-for-1 replacement, but I think really all Fleming is going to be asked to do is just bide us some time until we can get Archer back, and if he can pitch pretty well, then give Archer some time to complete his rehab in a most effective way. So with the right-hander Arihara going for the Rangers tomorrow, again, I would anticipate another left-handed heavy order. Austin Meadows, I would like to keep in the lineup in the leadoff spot. Maybe you DH him if you're not comfortable with having him in the field, but let's say maybe they keep him in left. I think Arozarena would be at 2. Joey Wendell, I think, will be in the lineup, but they don't typically go with the same thing, day after day. So I would say maybe you put Yandy Diaz up there. I mean, I would kind of not necessarily copy and paste, but I would keep a lot of those guys from tonight's lineup. I mean, I would want Yandy at first, Lau at second, Adames at short, Wendell at third probably, and then maybe you do the same thing with platooning Brasa over there at third, or whatever it is that you want to do. Or maybe, you just opt to go with Yoshi at first base, and then maybe you DH Yandy or Austin Meadows, depending on which way they want to go. But I do anticipate Yoshi being in the lineup again, whether it's at first or at DH, but getting that lefty-righty matchup, continuing to try and get him going. And I would imagine with maybe you play righty-lefty again and you put Brett Phillips in center over Manuel Margot, and so Adames in left, Arozarena in right, or what have you. And then looking at the bullpen side, I would say just about everyone would be available. If they want to be extra careful, they could hold out Diego Castillo for a second consecutive day, because they worked him really hard on Sunday and Monday's game, and I wouldn't imagine he would come in unless it was a save situation in the 8th or 9th inning. But the guys that right now you would consider a bullpen would be good to go, that being Cody Reed, Ryan Thompson, and I guess that's it for right now, at least at start of the year. I mean, Jeffrey Springs has been pitching some big innings. I know Hunter Strickland is in that conversation as well. So let's say if they get the lead and it's a 2 or 3 run game, they could go maybe they go Ryan Thompson in the 7th, Cody Reed in the 8th, and maybe Castillo in the 9th or something along those lines. And then, let's say if Fleming is only able to get them 5, then you have someone like, say, Springs or Kittredge to take the 6th, and then you go from there. So hopefully it will be a successful game, and the Rays are able to get back into the win column and get back up to 500. So we will definitely talk to you then. We'll be on the air once again tomorrow, right after the game, as we have been really most of the games to start the season. I got a message from someone during the show that the link I put up might not have been the right one, that I might have accidentally given out the link to yesterday's show. So anyone who gets my links from the Rays Discord, the Rays Reddit server, anything like that, I apologize. I'll try and get that issue worked out. Definitely follow me on Twitter at WHBCOfficial. The link goes straight from Spreaker.com to that Twitter account, so get it straight from the source. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And as always, we will speak to you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.